Hey guys, this is Logan Freeman with the Live Free Investor Podcast, where investors and business owners share advice so you too can live free. For more insights and ideas on how you can live free, connect and message with me on LinkedIn today. Today we have Audrey Navarro with Clemens Real Estate on the show, talking about how they are navigating the coronavirus pandemic, how they are approaching this scenario with their portfolio of residential and commercial properties. Additionally, how they're staying sane, running a good-sized business throughout this period of time, what they're focused on in relation to sharpening the saw, and how to continue to navigate these tumultuous waters. I'm excited for you guys to join in and watch this interview. Have a great day and live free. Today, I'm joined with Audrey Navarro. Audrey, why don't you tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thanks, Logan. I am with Clemens Real Estate. We are a boutique real estate company that specializes in investment property primarily, including multifamily, retail, and other commercial mixed-use assets. We have a full-service brokerage, property management, and development company.
Wonderful. I appreciate that. And for you guys that don't know, my license is with Clemens, and it's been a great relationship up to this point. And so the reason I wanted to have this conversation with you was a few different facets. I think that you and Aaron and Tim obviously bring a really interesting perspective about what's going on currently. This is April 13th or 14th, I believe, today. And so we're in the midst of the coronavirus COVID-19 crisis pandemic. And, I've been fielding a lot of questions from brokerage clients, but also from investors on how we are approaching this scenario, not only from investors by ourselves being investors, but also from a brokerage standpoint and owning real estate, and how we're approaching kind of the scenario with tenants, having issues with paying rents and things like that. So maybe we can jump in and take it from the perspective of an investor's perspective first on how to navigate, or at least your guys' approach on how you've been navigating your sizable portfolio amongst residential and commercial properties.
Sure. I will start with the phrase that my dad shared with us on the outset of this pandemic, which was, in times of economic crisis, cash is king.
Yeah.
Cash is king in a variety of different ways. Number one, from the preservation and asset protection perspective. So being able to weather a storm, it's really important to have cash reserves.
Yeah.
And second is to be able to take advantage of opportunities as they present themselves along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And we're very lucky. Headed into the spring of 2020, we have the highest ever occupancy within our portfolio. So we have very stabilized assets.
Yep.
And we've spent the past couple of years refinancing most of our larger properties into longer term, non-recourse, fixed debt products.
Sure.
And so again, I feel like we were very blessed from that perspective. And our initial expectation, especially when several municipalities and states announced a moratorium on foreclosures and evictions, was that this could lead very easily and quickly to a mass exodus of tenants paying their rent.
Right.
If there's not going to be an eviction or a consequence at the end of that recipe, we were very worried about high delinquencies and high rent collections.
Sure.
I think we were pleasantly surprised in April of all of the tenants that inquired about rent relief. We went through a really specific process, an application process, to defer or come up with payment plans for those residents, and specifically targeted around folks that had really experienced major impacts.
Right.
Whether it was a loss of a job, whether it was a significant reduction in hours, whether it was a small business owner who lost a significant amount of income. And so We had a very few select tenants that took advantage of that opportunity to come up with a payment plan. And it was not a mass invitation to not pay your rent.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, we were really lucky. That was April's rent. We're still a little bit unsure about May's rent. Many of the folks that were affected called to tell us that they were affected, to tell us that they did not need rent relief for the month of April, but if something didn't change, they would need rent relief by the time May came around. And so I think there will be a higher percentage, but being able to quantify that on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis has been very reassuring. And to be able to come up with payment plans for folks who are receiving stimulus dollars over the next several weeks has also been really giving us peace of mind.
So out of the holdings that Clemens has in Kansas City, do you have I've heard percentages across a few different of my clients, but also from friends that have a couple thousand units, and I'm hearing anywhere between 85 and 92% of rent was collected in April. Was that the same across your guys' portfolio on the residential side?
Yes, we had some properties that collected 100% of their April's rent. We had some properties that collected 85%.
Okay.
We have a pretty broad size and variety
Mm-hmm.
of multifamily units. And I would say on average, we collected 90% or more of April's rent.
Yeah.
When this crisis started in mid-March, we immediately reached out to all of our lenders to ask for deferral of payments for 90 days. We knew that, again, with that model that cash is king,
Right.
we need to preserve cash, and mortgage payments are a relatively small percentage of the overall operating expenses,
Sure.
but they are something that we have some direct influence on. So I can say that 95% or more of our lenders agreed to 90-day deferrals of mortgage payments. Whether we need to use those or not is still questionable.
Yeah.
And, it's there if we need it.
So a couple questions on that. Not only just changing the mortgage payment from PMI to interest only, but legitimate deferrals.
Deferral of the full payment.
Did you have a strategy when you approached them, or because I've been hearing things all across the board, but it seems like you had some success with the deferral of those loans. So is it relationship based or?
They were all relationship based.
Okay.
So in every single case, we have a personal relationship with the president of the bank and or the senior leadership team. We've been long-term good standing customers over the past 15 to 20 years.
Right.
And they realize that our portfolio is not in jeopardy other than in the short term. And so negotiating that up front allowed us to make strategic decisions about other items. I might add that was at a time prior to the stimulus package. That was really at a time where everything was uncertain.
Yeah.
And it probably immediately following the announcement in Kansas by the government or by the governor that all evictions and foreclosures would be stayed.
Right.
Time. And so it just gave us that flexibility to respond, consistently.